All right, we're gonna get started. Feel free to keep looking at the papers. My name is Sarah. I'm the Adult Services Librarian here at Ireland, and we are so excited to have Brenna with the Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance here today, especially since we know that McFarlanders are quite birders. And so today we're going to learn about birding by ear, and then we'll actually go outside as well to get a chance to do this. So Brenna, here you go.
All right, thank you, Sarah. It's great to be here. This is one of my favorite libraries, so I always enjoy coming down to McFarland and be able to chat with folks like you. My name is Brenna Marsicek. I am the Director of Outreach with Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance. I kind of think of myself as the director of the fun stuff because I get to do field trips with folks and lead our community science programs. We get to spend all sorts of time outside with people. So, if you want to do something fun with birds, I'm usually the person who gets to work with you. So I am really happy to be talking about birding by ears with you today, partly because it is such a birdie time of year. Like you open your windows from the moment you wake up and there is noise until the moment you go to bed. So it's a really fun time of year to be thinking about bird songs. It's also a bit overwhelming. It's an overwhelming time of year to be thinking about bird songs. So we'll try to kind of break it down a little bit and get you started on the unique journey of birding by ear. So just as a quick introduction to Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance, we are the local chapter of National Audubon Society, but a completely separate organization. So we work on bird conservation through three main avenues. One is habitat restoration. So we own about 3,000 acres of land in southern Wisconsin that we are actively restoring or have restored to native habitats for the benefit of birds and the people who love them, as well as other critters. So lots of mammals and insects and amphibians are at our sanctuaries as well. They're open to the public, so you're welcome to come out and explore those properties whenever you'd like. There's a handout on the table there that has a link to our website, and the newsletter over there gives you a little preview into those properties where you can go visit. We also have an education program, so our educators work with community schools and community centers to share love of nature with kids. And we do a lot of work around advocacy. So our community science programs relate to this. We study topics that are questions that need answers. And we alert our members when there's legislation happening or proposed that would matter to them and to bird conservation, and that type of thing. So we do all of that in 10 counties in southern Wisconsin. So this map here shows the area it shows our chapter boundary. So there's lots of a lot of people and great places to go birding in those areas. Okay, so birding by ear. I'm sorry, is this microphone distracting how it's going in and out with sound level? Okay, great. You don't hear that. Okay, great. So birding by ear is a really fantastic way to experience birds and the amazing world of birds because you can do this anywhere. You can do this no matter what your skill level is. Most people hear birds all the time and don't register the noises that they're hearing as a particular species, but this is something that you can carry with you as long as you have your ears available. You can do this anywhere. You don't have to have great vision. You don't have to have access to a vehicle. This is just a really accessible way to enjoy birds just by sitting, listening, and wondering. I was just telling Sarah at the beginning of this that I tell my kids often, you don't have to ask Alexa for the answer to everything. Sometimes it's good to wonder what things are, right? So birding by ear is a really great, accessible way for birding to experience birding. It's also really connected with our sense of curiosity. We have really cool birds in southern Wisconsin, and it's fun to think about, like, what is making that noise? Or this is such a gorgeous bird. I wonder what it sounds like. Or what's with this like calling back and forth that I hear? There's one noise over here and another noise over here, and it's going back and forth. And it's a really great way to pique our curiosity and to keep our minds young and interested and engaged in what's going around us. And it's also a really powerful way to feel that sense of belonging in our neighborhood. You know, birds that come to our feeders, it helps us feel connected with the animals that are in our backyard or in our neighborhood, in our local parks, with other people who feel strongly about bird conservation or are curious about birds as well. So it can really make a lot of great connections between people to people, and then people to nature as well. So birding by ear is an activity in general, but it's also a class that we teach along with the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired in partnership with Aldo Leopold Nature Center. And we do this because there are lots of folks in the low vision community that enjoy birds as well, and there's less emphasis on teaching folks how to bird by sound than there is to bird by sight. So we are really lucky to get to work with the council on this class that really emphasizes putting down the binoculars, maybe even closing your eyes and just listening and identifying and having everybody sort of on the same level of experience and ability with just identifying birds by sound. So Denise Jess is the executive director of the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired. And I want to play this video for you because it really illustrates the importance of how this partnership works.
Hi, everybody. I'm Denise Jess, the Executive Director with the Wisconsin Council of the Blind and Visually Impaired. And I'm really delighted that I get to talk with you today about one of our signature programs at the Council. We love birding by ear because it's a way for those of us who are blind and have vision loss to experience the natural world. And I want to talk a little bit about that. I also love it because we've built such powerful and strong partnerships with the Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance. And I know the learning that they've done with us carries into their other programming. And then we have great partners with the Aldo Leopold Nature Center. So this work is possible because we all lift it up together. So I had the fortune of growing up in rural Wisconsin, actually Washington Island. So the natural world was my playground. And heard the birds singing. I could smell the changes in the weather, smell what things were like when they were growing, and I have enough functional vision to be able to see some of it. And my dad taught me early on what some of the birds were and how to listen for them because there was no way that I could see them. So I've carried that love of being outside, experiencing nature, taking safe risks. You know, I'm a kayaker and hiker, and just being in the natural environment. And it's been so good for my mental health and for reducing stress and just being outside and doing things with people and just having the pleasure of that. So for so many of us that are blind and low vision, we don't have that gift. Transportation's a barrier. Going someplace that feels safe and welcoming is a barrier. Often if we join a group that might be out birding, we have to try to figure out how we keep up, and we often don't keep up. So when our volunteer, Carrie, approached us 8 years ago to ask about the potential of doing a birding by ear class, and Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance joined us in that party, it was liberating to create a class that supported anybody who wanted to learn to bird by ear, to have the skills to do that, to know what you were listening for, how to listen, and then go out into the field and actually practice. And we made a really conscious decision right from the get-go that the class would be open to all birders, whether they were sighted or not sighted, whether they were master birders or beginning birders, whether they had experience with birding by ear or whether it was brand new to them, because we knew there was so much potential for shared learning. And so often for those of us who are blind and low vision, we get the message that we have nothing to teach others. And this was an opportunity for us to be teachers as well as learners. And the 8-year partnership is just thriving. You know, we added Elder Leopold Nature Center as our newest partner, and they provide the beautiful site that we go to every year at the Nature Center in Monona, which is so diverse, so we can hear many, many different kinds of birds in the springtime. Offshoots that have come from the birding by ear class. We now do a training for people who would like to be birding by ear guides. So help them understand what it's like to work with folks who have vision loss, and how to really help all learners listen for birds rather than just watch for birds. And so that's really fun to train people to help create inclusive experiences. The other offshoot is that there are monthly meetups. So once folks go through the Birding by Ear experience, they can get together with folks from Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance and go out into the field for an hour or two once a month and keep those bird skills going, and also keep staying in community with other folks who have like interests. So I'm hoping that some of you will consider coming to Birding by Ear when we offer it again in the spring, and having that really cool, connective, outdoor experience with people who also love birds. So thanks so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
All right. So Denise, again, she's really fabulous to work with because she's so smart and engaged with that community. And so, as she mentioned, this class is offered in the spring. So we just missed it. It was on May 2nd this year, but we usually host it that first or second weekend of May. So if you keep an eye out, you'll be able to join us next spring if you'd like. And there's also a flyer on the table there that has a link to a website where you can see when the next Birding by Ear meetup is, and you can join us on that if you want to do some practicing. So getting into birding by ear can be a little tricky, right? But what helps is to start breaking it down into pieces to make it a little more achievable, tackleable, if that's a word. So the first thing to start with is context clues. Where are you? Are you in a wetland? Or are you in a backyard? Or are you in a forest or a prairie? What time of year is it? Is it winter? Because you're going to hear really different birds in the winter than you will in the summer. So if you have plants that are flowering, if you have trees predominantly, it's all going to change what birds that you'll hear. And that immediately narrows down the options of what birds you're hearing by a lot. So that really helps to make sure you acknowledge where you are in the world and what time of the year it is. The next thing that helps is to figure out if you're hearing a song or a call, or maybe a non-vocal noise. So a song for a bird is usually sung in the spring when birds, especially males, are establishing territory. This is my space here. Y'all can stay out of it, and all the ladies come on in because let's make some babies, right? So that's the goal for a song mostly. They also sing. Some birds sing throughout the year, but a lot of the birds focus heavily on the springtime when they're nesting for their singing. So a song is really melodic, typically. Songbirds make very melodic songs, and they are repetitive, predictable. So if I'll play some clips of songs in just a little bit, and you'll be able to hear what I'm saying, like the predictability and the melody of it tells you it's a song. If it's short and emphatic and punchy, that's usually a call. So that's typically more of like a warning, either to other birds or to other birds as in like, watch out, there's danger coming, or to other birds or animals saying, I don't like you here, or you're bothering me, time to move out. So a call is typically communicating with each other in more like a quick, flashy way. Both are used for communicating with each other, though, a song and a call. So you can definitely note some other details. That will help narrow things down as well. Does it sound like a big bird? Is it really high pitched and sound pretty little? Or is it, do you hear some water in the background? Because that tells you that there's a wetland nearby, or, other context clues like that. Especially the sound of the bird telling you if it's big or small is especially helpful. This isn't always a perfect case because bald eagles make a really high, squeaky, chittery noise, and they're really big birds. So it's not a perfect way to narrow it down, but it really often helps a lot. And then you can also think about, if you want, mnemonics. So mnemonic devices are things that we use to help us remember certain things. So if you remember from grade school, always, wait, how does that go? Never eat soggy waffles. It's north, east, south, and west. That's how you remember the order of things. Never eat soggy waffles. That's a mnemonic device. With bird songs, there's a handout on the table if you're interested, and I can share this with folks afterwards to send it out into recording. But there are a list of mnemonics for bird songs. These are just made up by people who think that this is what it sounds like. So it's a lot of times gibberish. The mnemonic device is gibberish. Sometimes it's actually words. Like the first one on the list here is a barred owl, and people think it says, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" But it doesn't say it like that. It says, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" So, you gotta like use your imagination when you're using these mnemonics, but sometimes they really do help. So one mnemonic that I use a lot is for the red-eyed vireo, because it has red eyes, and I imagine that's kind of creepy and like spooky. And I hear it when it sings, I hear it say, "Halloween, Halloween, Halloween." So I'll play it for you, and you can see if you hear Halloween as well. I don't know. It's totally up to like every individual. Some people really like mnemonics. Some people find them completely unuseful. So do with it what you will. I heard help this morning at my back window. So Sheila and I probably had some red-eyed vireos in our neighborhood this morning. So, it's sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it's not, and you just do what you can with it. So as a way to illustrate some of this, we can listen to these clips. I'll play the song for the American robin. And really, if there's one bird that you learn the song for, it should be the robin. We hear this all the time. If you learn to identify robins' songs and calls, you'll have like 50% of the noises you hear in spring. So let's listen to the song here. And you can look on your mnemonics handout. If you don't have one, feel free to pop up and grab one. But it is, what number it is. That's funny. It's not even on here, maybe because it's so common. But the mnemonic for this one is cheerio, cheerio, cheerily, cheerio, cheerio, cheerily. Does it sound familiar? So the robin is a thrush species. Sorry, I'm trying to stop this. Put it now. Okay, so the robin is part of the thrush family, and all thrushes have a very musical flute-like sound to them. So wood thrushes, Swainson thrushes, bluebirds, eastern bluebirds are also part of the thrush family. So when you listen to them, you can kind of hear that flute quality to its song, and no matter what thrush you're listening to, you can tell that sounds thrushy because it has that very flute-like noise. They also make kind of like a little chittery, squeaky thing at the end. So we'll listen to that again and see if this is a noise that thrushes make as well. This sort of like. So with this song, it's not going to stop me. Is it? Okay. Very typical. So it is very repetitive, very musical. It has like, you can tell if you were tracing it on a music score, you'd be able to predict where the notes would go up and down. So that is the song. The call, again, this is to communicate with each other of like alerts or back off communications. So the call sounds like this. I think it sounds like laughter. And this laughter noise is often the last thing we hear before nightfall. So if you're listening like late in the evening after dusk, this is often what you hear. Okay, so that's robins. Any questions about robins? Okay. This is a very beloved bird. It has a lot of significance to a lot of people, and it also makes a really cool noise. So this one, the mnemonic for it, again, I don't know if it's on this list, but it is a lot of times people think it says, Peter, Peter, Peter. I see the red body and I think of lasers when I hear this song. So that's how I connect it. That's my mnemonic device. Is there's a laser bird, that's a cardinal. Its red body matches up with red lasers for my mind, I guess. Great song to hear all winter long. This one will go year round, the males and the females sing. So this is another really common species to hear in Wisconsin throughout the year. So another really good one to learn. Does anyone have a different way of thinking about this? Like a different mnemonic for a cardinal? Lasers for you? Yes. Okay, good. All right, so here's the call. I bet we've all heard this at least a billion times and never really I like picked up on it in our minds. So like identified that noise was happening and what is it? So here's the call. Super high pitched squeaky, like a sneaker on a gym floor. Another really common sound. It it happens all the time. Do you recognize it? Like, have you heard this? Yeah, no doubt. So that's our northern cardinal. It's a really great bird to learn because it's so common and it's here all year round. Okay, so the next one is the northern house wren. This is a really little bird, and it packs a lot of punch in its noises. So the best way that I've heard this song described is someone in our Birding by Ear class a few years ago described it as that noise that cassettes make when you rewind it. Okay, are you ready? Another really common one in backyards. And they can really make that noise travel. They're a tiny bird, but they can just really belt it out there. And it's very cool to hear how such a small bird can make such a wide impact on like the soundscape around us. So that's the song of the cassette tape of the northern house wren. And here is its call. And hear a crow in there too. So this is like the lower pitched chirring. Over and over. It's just ready to party. These noises layering on each other. So yes, again, this is the northern house wren. Any questions about this one? Cassette tape work for you? Yeah.
Do a lot of friends have similar songs?
So do a lot of friends have similar songs and calls? They all kind of have that fast, very garbly, gibbery. Again, it's just made up words. Quality to it, where it's really fast, really up and down and moving all over without a very strong melody to it. But they do sound different between species. Okay, let's go to our next one. The next is the blue jay. And most of us know the blue jay as the sound that it makes when it says its name, right? Okay, now this is going to be the trick to get all the noises to stop. So this one says its name. That's helpful, right? It says J, 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 J. I saw a bumper sticker one time of a blue jay that looked kind of like this, and the words next to it said, "I'm here to yell." I'm like, it's super true. For blue jays, they are just loud and they are like in your face about it. So the other cool thing about blue jays is that they're in the corvid family along with crows and ravens. And so they are super smart. And part of that intelligence translates into how they communicate. They have lots and lots of different noises that they can make. So they're not a songbird. They don't sing in the way that we consider songbirds to sing. So they make lots of different noises and they can do mimicry. So they can imitate like a red-tailed hawk and sound pretty close to it. So before I go into that mimicry one, let's listen to the pump handle. This is another really common sound for a blue jay. Isn't that cool? Back. So now let's do this lots more. These are all just crazy noises that they make. Sounds like a what? A frog. Yeah. Yeah, that low. Uh-huh. And you can hear J J in the background too. Oh, yeah, that one's there to yell. Oh, there's a goose. Okay, so that's just a sampling of the many different noises that blue jays make. I'll play the mimicry for you now. So listen close and see if you can tell me if this sounds like a blue jay to you or something else. So that's the blue jay making a noise, and here's what it was trying to imitate. It's like, yeah, kind of good try. Yeah. But a lot of times they can get pretty close, and you can't really tell it's a blue jay until you hear at the end it does something like a little bit different, like it has a little lift up to the sound at the end, or then you can tell like that's not really a red-tailed hawk, that's a blue jay. This one, it was trying to imitate, I think, a broadwing hawk. And so, they're very crafty. So they'll try to, get certain birds to move certain ways so that they can maybe get easier access at the bird feeder, if they're trying to imitate a hawk. So blue jays are really fun to explore. This is one where you probably won't get it you won't be able to like master the blue jay on your first try because there's a lot going on with the blue jay. Takes a lot of practice to learn all the different sounds. Okay, watch this. We're all gonna play. All right, so that's just a sampling. There are many, many hundreds of bird sounds that we could go through, and we won't. But that's just kind of a sampling to get you started and curious. But one of the best ways to learn is through practice, right? And using the resources that we have available to us. So a lot of folks, my parents' age, listened to CDs in the car as they were learning to bird by ear. So a lot of cars don't even have CD players anymore. So you have to like find your vintage, Subaru Forester to play this thing. Or if, you can play it at home too. Spotify and Amazon Music and all these things also have lots of materials like this where you can listen to bird songs kind of on loop. And that really helps cement those sounds into your mind and have it be sort of like a subconscious learning, as you're driving to work or whatever the case may be. So those types of listening tools are really helpful. Another really great tool is this Merlin Bird ID app. That's up on the screen now. It's a very popular app for people who are learning bird songs because you can download it for free. You put in your location, and then when you open it, you can press the microphone button and it will listen to the birds singing and calling around you, and it will highlight the names of the birds that it's hearing. So it does the ID for you. It's not perfect, so it's pretty good with identification. It can be wrong now and again, but it's pretty good. So it's a really nice tool for folks. You can, like this morning, I was trying to listen to that red-eyed vireo, and so I turned it on in my kitchen window and just let it sit for a little while. And it was really fun to see like all the other things that I wasn't paying attention to. You could see them kind of come up, and then you start listening to all these other things. All the noises that we hear in our yards and in parks and walking around, they're very much layered, right? So there are lots of different noises, cars and wind and the neighbor kids screaming and birds and squirrels and all the things that are making noise. So one of the biggest things to practice with birding by ear is isolating the layers and trying to ignore the ones that you don't want to be listening to and focusing on those sounds that you're listening for. So the Merlin Bird ID app can really help with that because it helps you not only learn the birds that you're hearing, but also helps you focus on those ones. If you're really trying to listen for that vireo, you can just kind of be like, oh, cool, that was another blue jay, just vireo. You can focus in on that. Another resource is on our website, we have a blog called Who's That Singing? And it describes the bird, the habitat, the size, the behaviors that would help you in identifying the bird. And then it has a bunch of sound clips, so you can listen to the songs and the calls straight from that page. It's a nice resource for folks who are just getting started. It was designed to pair with the Birding by Ear class, so they're all pretty much introductory birds, and we're adding to it all the time. I should also add, I don't think I have this in here, but I want to add the All About Birds website. So it's allaboutbirds.org. You can search in any type of bird and it will show you the map and tell you what kinds of food it eats and what habitat it's in. And then it has an option for you to play a whole bunch of different songs and calls as well. So that's another really nice resource that's free and available to anyone. And then we have our Birding by Ear class. So this, again, we meet in the beginning of May typically. We try to keep it as low cost as possible. So it's $25 per person. And then we have monthly meetups during the comfortable months of the year. So our next meetup, I think, is June 13th. And it's just a group of people who like birding by ear that want to get more practice in the field and help with both the isolating of layers and the identification of what we're hearing. So we go to different places in the Madison area each month and different days of the weeks to be able to help people make it work for their schedules. So again, it's just all about the practice. It's like learning a brand new language. Each winter, I forget like 90% of the bird songs, and then I relearn them each spring as it comes in. And so it's definitely like another language that way, where if you don't use it, you forget it. And so practicing really helps continuing that learning and the can't really communicate with the birds, but you can, learn from them and identify who you're listening to. So I really encourage you to practice as much as you're able to. And so to get us started, we'll transition to outside here in just a few minutes, and we'll go for a little walk and see what we can hear. And we'll run the Merlin ID app so that you can see what it looks like as we're walking and just kind of listen for what birds are here around the library. So with that, does anyone have any questions before we head outside? Yes, in the back. Are there differences in the sounds between male and female? Not typically. Females are less common to make noise. So, especially because a lot of the noises are made during the nesting season, females for songbirds, a lot of times are the ones who are sitting on the nest. So they don't really want to make noise, but the males do most of the singing. And so, there are some species like cardinals that the male and the female will sing, but and there are subtle differences, but you would have to be pretty good at IDing them to be able to tell them apart. Yes. Has Merlin fallen susceptible to the mimicry? Yes, Merlin has. I mean, I've seen it once, and I'm sure it's more common than that. But yeah, I mean, it is pretty convincing sometimes. They can be. There are other birds that do mimicry besides blue jays. So catbirds and thrashers and mockingbirds, they all make similar noises trying to be other birds to serve a purpose for themselves. So yeah, Merlin can definitely misidentify. In general, it's pretty good, but it can misidentify sometimes. Are there any other bird songs that you want to hear before we go out? Keep mentioning Sheila. Sheila's my neighbor.
Yeah.
Raise your hand, Sheila. We've been hearing a lot of Orioles because Sheila feeds the Orioles, so I thought we could maybe listen to the Orioles.
Bird sounds the same.
The birds sound the same to you. Well, yeah, especially because we often don't pay attention to them until they're like all back at our feeders, and then it's like, oh my god, there's so many. So trying to learn in the thick of bird migration is an extra big challenge. It's really good to practice in the summer or the winter when there are just fewer around, and then work your way up to being ready for spring or fall migration. And fall migration is typically quieter because birds are not setting up nesting territories. So it's really the spring that is the extra challenging time. Okay, so for the Baltimore Oriole, this is what it looks like. It's an orange bird with black wings. It's part of the blackbird family, so it makes noises that are similar to other blackbirds, certain points of its song. But this one I think of as the most cheerful little, like, jaunty little song you could ever imagine. I just imagine like a little Boy Scout walking down the street with his knapsack and whistling. So see if you can picture that little Boy Scout. Yeah, it's such a good song, and especially if you have feeders around, then you often will hear this particular song. If you have Baltimore Oriole bird feeders, where you have the oranges or the cups for grape jelly. Okay, any other requests? Do you want to hear some big birds like raptors? Okay, let's do the bald eagle since I mentioned that earlier. Okay, bald eagles are really big. Their wingspan is about 6 feet, which is the same as mine. And they have really big babies and really big nests. Everything about them is really, really big, except for their noises.
So then what is that noise and the quintessential
Yeah.
screech of an eagle that people do?
What's that noise in the movies when the bald eagles are flying over? What is it? Yes, it's a red-tailed hawk. Isn't that funny? All this time, bald eagles are like, you guys, I'm the national symbol, and you can't even play the right noise for me. Okay, do you want to hear the bald or the red-tailed hawk?
Yeah.
I'm on the All About Birds website, just as a little plug for you. I use this all the time, and I'm a professional, so you should use it too. Right? That intense noise, that's not an eagle. It's a hawk. Also a very cool bird. How about some owls? You want to hear a great one? Great horned owls are, I think, the second largest owl species in North America. The great gray owl, which is very uncommonly seen in Wisconsin, is our biggest one. It's more typically a Canadian bird. The great gray owl makes the classic hoo, hoo, hoo noise. Most owls don't make noises like that. So this is the great horned owl. I bet you will recognize it. So the mnemonic for this one is pretty good. It's who's awake, me too. Okay, listen again and see if you can pick up. And it's not necessarily like the words themselves, it's just the pattern of the syllables that the mnemonic works with. Who's awake, me too. It's an owl. How perfect is that? That deep tone to it is a clue that it's a big bird, right? So this is one where it falls into the category of large bird, large noise. Screech owls make a fabulous noise, and it sounds small like they are. I know, isn't that just the cutest little thing I've ever seen? They're such good little buddies in there. So screech owls have a gray morph and a red morph. That's what you call it when they have different coloring patterns like that. Gray morph, red morph. Same species. They just have, some people have black hair, some people have blonde hair. Okay, so here is the screech owl. Like a horse in the middle of the night. It sounds cold. Yeah, and you would hear this in the cold months of the year because owls, like eagles and hawks and other big birds of prey, start nesting in the middle of winter. So typically in like January or February, you hear this noise a lot because owls are staking out their territory. So great horned owls, screech owls, this is a very common noise to hear in like January and early February. Okay, any other requests? Goldfinch, and then we'll do Bard. Okay. And then I also want to tell you, okay, I forgot to mention this earlier. There are noises that birds make not with their vocal cords, or like the equivalent of vocal cords. So some birds make noises with their feathers and the noise that the wind makes moving through their feathers. It's called a non-vocal, and it's fabulous. And typing again. Mourning doves is the best example I can give you because they do make a noise, a song. And the mnemonic for this, my coworkers that work with kids teach the mnemonic as hula hoop, hoop, hoop. So listen for the hula hoop. So that's the song, that's a vocal. And then here, this is the super common noise that we hear that is the sound of the wind moving through its tail feathers. The chirping sound. And sorry, it's not their tail feathers, it's their wing feathers. That slapping noise is the wings coming down and like slapping. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, hummingbirds do that. They have kind of like a buzzy noise that they make when they're doing their display flights. Wilson's snipe, it's a really cool one. Do you have like all day to do this? Because it's super fun, isn't it? Okay, so the Wilson snipe looks like this. It's like a little football with a super long beak. And this is a Wisconsin bird, yes. And it makes this display sound in the spring, and usually in like April, they're wet. So you hear this right after dusk. Okay, setting the scene here. You're in a wetland by yourself. And it's right after dusk and nobody's around. And then you hear this noise. Right? Goosebumps. It's cool. Fear. I don't know. No, it's so this is the Wilson snipe. It's super cool. And a lot of times you hear the Wilson snipe. You don't often see them, but you definitely hear them. And then at the same time of year, that's when the American woodcock are displaying. So they make this cool thing where they will do like a hint, like they stick their heads out like that and they hint. I'm gonna have to show you this one too. It's very cute. We should have a sidekick. Okay, so here's the woodcock. She's so cute. It's interesting that the woodcock and the snipe, they do, yeah. So that's their little head jam thing. They like cross the road and they're like in this head jam thing. There are lots of memes of the woodcock like set to like funk music. Yeah, because it's jamming out like that. Okay, so it makes a peent noise. This is also one that you would find making this noise around or after sunset, at the same time that the Wilson snipe would be doing it. So usually like early April. And then it makes that peent noise, and then it will do a display flight where it will fly up really, really high and it'll twist around and make this little whistling noise as it comes back down. And if you hear where the peent is coming from, while it's flying up in the sky, you can like kind of sneak up a little closer to where the peent noise came from. And the woodcock, when it's done doing its display thing, after a few seconds, it'll come back down to the same spot it took off from. And then you can like get a little closer look at it. So here's the display noise that it makes. This is another one that has, this is a non-vocal noise. So the wind moving through the feathers, this one that I'm about to play. So it's way up high. It's so high, oftentimes you lose sight of it. It's kind of swirling around doing this like display thing, and then it comes back down. Wild, right?
The non-vocal stuff. Nuts.
The non-vocal stuff is nuts. Okay, so let's do two more before we go outside. So we had a request for a goldfinch. Really good one to know too. This one, so it makes a number of noises. The song is pretty typical for a finch, where it's kind of like bubbly and all over the place. High pitched, kind of like up and down, up and down, up and down. So that's the song. The one I want to find for you, I don't know if we'll be able to find it right away. The mnemonic for it is potato chip. It makes this sound when it is in flight. So it's its flight call, and it'll go potato chip, potato chip, potato chip. And it makes it like on a really predictable part of its flight. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, well, that's also another one. You hear that noise a lot in late summer. That's like the sound of August for me. It's nice. It's like really hot out, and you hear that really loud squeak. That's the goldfinch. Let's see if this is potato chip. This is it. There's another bird, the black-capped chickadee, that says, I think it says cheese curd. So that should tell you a little bit about me too, and how food motivated I am. But yes, this is a really fun one for especially kids, you know, because you can, when they're flying, you can be like, okay, now listen, potato chip, and it's easily identifiable. Okay, and then there was, barred owl, right? Did you say barred or barn? Okay, let's do barred, because we don't really get barn, even though their sounds are very cool and freaky. Barred owl. This owl is crepuscular, which is my favorite word in the English language. Crepuscular means that they're active in the morning, at dawn, and at dusk. So, like deer, are crepuscular. So this mnemonic is the first one. This is the one that says, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" Silly. One more time. Ooh, that one really wanted to cook. Okay, so they also make a call that is described as like their monkey call. So see if you hear monkeys. Nope, not that one. That sounds like a bird. Yeah. It sounds what? A baby? Yeah. On the way here, I was listening to the radio, and the person describing the sound of a baby beaver described. You listen to that too? They described it as a demented guinea pig. This is okay. Anyways, that's off topic, but sound related. So, okay. Any other requests or questions before we head outside? Okay, great. So let's turn off the computer, turn on our birding by ears, and we'll head outside. Nice.